Hello and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching at this news hour. I'll get back after a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching at this news hour with the news. I'm Biniam Getana. Thank you for joining us and stay with us with the rest of the news. And now the House of People's Representative announced that the 15th National Flag Day is being celebrated today of 17 October with various assortments. This year's National Flag Day is celebrated with the theme of "Our flag is a manifestation of our diversity and the pillar of our sovereignty." According to the House of People's Representative, today's event marks the 50th year since National Flag Day was celebrated. The National Flag Day is celebrated across the nation under the coordination of the House of People's Representatives. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, in line with the Flag National Celebration Day, the Government Communication Service has released a statement and will update you later on. And moving to another news, Ethiopia has obtained some 976 million USD from export trade during the first quarter of the current Ethiopian fiscal year. A performance evaluation of main macroeconomic and ministerial offices first quarter plan of 2015 Ethiopian budget year is being conducted in Gondar city in the presence of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Presenting the quarterly performance report, the Ministry of Planning and Development, Fitsum Asafa, said the foreign exchange flow increased by 14% in the stated period, indicated that some 976 million USD was earned from the export trade, of which 426 million was from agricultural products. The minister pointed out that the performance of the manufacturing and mining sectors has showed a slight decrease compared to the same period last year. However, she said flour export is one of the products that have made significant progress. Contraband and illegal trade are the bottlenecks of the sector, she said, adding that efforts will be exerted to improve the problem in the future. The minister has also mentioned that 67.2 million USD worth of foreign products have been substituted by domestic products during the stated period. Fitsum noted that the government's revenue has increased by 8.6% in the 3 months performance, adding that the nation has collected 93.1 billion birr from tax and non-tax revenue, out of which 51 billion birr was collected from the income tax. And the IMF executive directors have commended Ethiopia's ambitious economic and monetary policy reform, indicating their commitment to support the reform agenda through IMF program upon further engagements. At the sideline of the IMF and World Bank annual meetings, the Ethiopian delegation led by the Ministry of Finance Ahmed Shide held constructive meetings with the IMF executive directors and advisors from China, France, Germany, United Kingdom and Italy. The executive directors acknowledged Ethiopia's resilience amid the overlapping shocks it is currently facing. The directors have also commended the government's ambitious economic and monetary policy reform, indicating their commitment to support the reform agenda through an IMF program upon further engagements. Minister of Finance Ahmed Shide briefed the executive director on Ethiopia's current political and economic affairs, progress made on Ethiopia's homegrown economic reform agenda. Meanwhile, the minister emphasized the criticality and urgency of IMF support in view of the millions of people across the country who is being hit by the severe droughts, high inflation, conflict, rising commodity prices and other ongoing challenges. Likewise, Ahmed acknowledged that IMF's recent visit to Ethiopia and the successful discussions around the policy reform areas that will address macro imbalance, tackle the forex exchange rate issues, tame inflation and manage debt issuance. And in other news, restructuring the political system is said to be crucial to avert the resurgence of unconstitutional change of government in Africa. Unfair meddling over the internal affairs of African countries also posed on ensuring peace and security in the continent. This said while a panel discussion held at the Tensit high-level forum in Bahar Dar, Amara region. Shagari Mata has compiled the full story. Let's take a look.
Attending the Tensit Forum, participants put directions on how to tackle unconstitutional government changes, extremism and international security influences in Africa. Participants expressed their confidence that the involvement of youth in the political system and establishing strong democratic institutions are remedies to tackle peace and security challenges in Africa. Participants presented their studies and forwarded solutions to seek African solutions for a problem. Solomon Ayele indicated that lack of accountable government system, weak democratic institutions and absence of homegrown conflict tackling mechanisms are the causes of unconstitutional power transfer taking place in Africa.
We have the norms for the promotion and maintenance of peace and security on the African continent, and we have the knowledge and understanding also of the signs for the emergence of conflict, the signals for military seizure of power, or the dangers of expansion of terrorism and the spike in incidents of terrorist attacks. But our capacity for responding to these challenges is not matched by all of the institutional policy knowledge instruments at our disposal. So this is the paradox that we have here on the African continent.
The former Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn on his part underlined that lack of youth participation in political system, foreign interference in the name of humanitarian aid and lack of strong democratic institutions are the causes for the recurrent coups in Africa.
Other continent, take it Northern America, Japan or Europe, is an aging population. And Africa is a young continent. But our political system doesn't include this group of citizens in the continent.
Is the suspicion within the armed forces of those countries that external powers that purport to be supporting in the war against terror and whatever are actually complicit in perpetuating crisis. Time has come for us to challenge the approach which has been adopted to date to conflict management in Africa, by which old colonial powers continue to play lead roles even in UN operations.
Participants also suggested that Africans must work hand in hand and provide political representation for the youth to establish strong democratic institutions.
It's not about working closed doors. No, Pan-Africanism is to give the African people to restore, to resume their pride, their dignity, their liberty, because African problems should be solved by the Africans themselves. Okay, we need the assistance, not the assistance, we need partnership, cooperation, but not assistance.
Discussing African peace and security issues, the TNS high-level Tana Forum concluded on Sunday.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we are in our trending story, which we are going to update you recent phenomena. And of course, Ethiopia is observing the 15th National Flag Day, which of course a few hours before is being celebrated, and it's going to be celebrated across the nations. To tell us more on here, I'm joined here by Tamwa Shagre, my colleague, to tell us lots of pertinent issues. It's a very well welcome.
Thank you very much.
So Ethiopia today is celebrating the 15th National Flag Day across the nations. In the meantime, also the Government Communication Service have released a statement. But coming back to the very core point, how significant is celebrating this National Flag Day, in your opinion?
Absolutely, that is, Ethiopia is observing the National Flag Day, and the 15th time since it was observed and declared by the government to observe this National Flag Day. And it has a very critical and much more necessary to observing this National Flag Day, not only in Ethiopia. From the nature of the history, there are a lot of 55 sovereign nations are observing National Flag Day, and Ethiopia is one of them. And observing this National Flag Day, it's a sign of sovereignty and independence, and it's a sign of solidarity, and it's a sign of unity and oneness. And Ethiopia is one of the nations that manifesting how this unity and solidarity is critical to the history of nation building and even a sign of independence and freedom when a lot of African nations are under colonial rule, that Ethiopia is a sign of independence and a sign of freedom fighters, and Ethiopia is also helping those countries under regime and colonial rule, in authoritarian rule in the Western and European countries especially. So this National Flag Day is a sign of unity, sovereignty, national integrity, even a sign of independence. So observing this National Flag Day is a very critical day to Ethiopians.
Yeah, that was actually the correct statement as far as the theme of today's celebration is concerned. Strengthen the manifestation of sovereignty and diversity. So for the new generation, how do we really educate the value of celebrating such events so that at the end of the day people can come to realize patriotism in line with Ethiopia, and then we can continue the development and legacy that we have registered so far?
Educating the new generation about flag, not only in flag, and loving nation and wisdom, patriotism, and industriousness is an education curriculum of Ethiopia, and the government of Ethiopia is tirelessly working to educate those coming new generations how Ethiopia is necessary not only for Ethiopians, also other nations in the whole region and further to whole region. That Ethiopia is an ancient nation that is a sign of a lot of government institutions, even in the national institutions. She's the founder of United Nations, how Ethiopia is playing an important role. And Ethiopia is playing unprecedented role in organizing the African Union and African unity. So this is a much more better to educating the coming generation about flag and Ethiopia and the role of Ethiopians in constructing a lot of institutions, including domestic and foreign institutions. So educating is much more better to the coming generation about Ethiopia and the concept of Pan-Africanism even. So this is much more better. And recently the government communication service also sent a statement how Ethiopia is observing National Flag Day. This statement has two major objectives. The first one is about we are remembering the sacrifice paid by the forefathers and mothers when the nation building in Ethiopia, and also this statement also highly dedicated when we all Ethiopians are observing this National Flag Day. We are remembering the sacrifice of our forefathers and mothers who transcend this nation and this flag to this new generation. And the second point is some domestic powers like TPLF and some Western powers are orchestrating a lot of conflicts and instabilities in Ethiopia to take forcefully the national sovereignty and national integrity of Ethiopia. But this is a sign of daymare.
Interesting. And very last question perhaps, you've said that our forefathers have paid maximum sacrifice to restore this beautiful country through their blood and a lot of activities in the past, and that's why we live in here. So ultimately, how do we strengthen this unity and diversity and continue all we have?
Yeah, that's why the assessment from Government Communication Service are dedicated remembering the sacrifice of forefathers and mothers to transcend in this country is necessary much more. And when we see that is the color of Ethiopian flag, that is green, yellow, and red, it represented a lot of meanings. Green represents development, greenery of the nation, and yellow is showing that is the heart of the nation, and red is how the Ethiopians are sacrificing to survive the nation and to transcend the coming generation. And this, that is blue, green, and red is something which is related within the human life of Ethiopians, especially how they are making sacrifice. When we are sacrificing, a lot of issues are related within this country. So a lot of those superpowers are not feeling comfortable due to this hard fact, because Ethiopia is a pillar of everything that is, for example, it's a pillar of independence, it's a pillar of freedom, it's a pillar of organizing domestic and international institutions. Leg of Nation, the recent United Nations is organized by Ethiopian forefathers and mothers, which is visionary leaders that we have. So they are tirelessly working within the PLF even to overcome the regime of the Ethiopians. So that is baseless, even that they cannot achieve and successful to overcome the challenge in the regime of the Ethiopians.
Aftaman Shagre, thank you so much for coming and updating on this pertinent issue. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure, Imran.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching at this news now, and I'll step into another news. Meanwhile, some participants of the ongoing Tensit high-level forum told ETV that the forum is critical to thrash out major socio-economic concern, as well as exchange views on peace and security threats facing the continent. According to the participants, the forum will come up with ways of building resilience by placing citizens at the center and the state playing a role only when it is necessary. Let's take a look at.
This forum is attracting attention from the neighborhood, from the region, as well as all across Africa, including the former president of the Ghana. So regarding the issues, a number of issues stand out. One is, of course, peace and security and stability. This still haunts Africa. Many countries are affected by the absence of peace, lack of stability, and security issues. That was one big issue that was covered.
And it is important, to raise that questions, like the issue of governance in Africa, the issue of security in Africa, the issue of peace and stability in Africa, but also the issue of the reaction of the population, which is all the resilience that the community and the communities are showing vis-à-vis instability or insecurity in that region. I think that yesterday we did a very rich panel.
The best solution for Africans is to do what? To pull resources together, to pull mental and resources together, find experts, gather around, negotiate, establish forums or strengthen the already existing forums so as to discuss and find an African solutions to an African problems. That is, I think, the model for the next decades, if not centuries, for Africa. Because in the past, as we know, because of so many historical reasons, African problems were discussed so miles and thousands of kilometers away. But I think it's now high time that all the heads of state and government, the current and former ones as well, what they really hammered home, the point was that we are masters of our own destiny. We need to get together. We need to find solutions. We need to talk as brothers and sisters and accommodate our differences, but focus more based on mutual interest for our common destiny.
And moving on, an Ethiopian and Djiboutian youth delegate said the tree planting program held in Djibouti binds the two countries' long-standing relationship with green development. Ethiopian green youth and Djibouti youth have planted tree seedlings in the Afar region of Djibouti. Tigesir Nessa has compiled the following story. Take a look.
Ethiopia's Green Legacy Initiative themed Plant African Fraternity is being held at in Djibouti in collaboration with Ethiopia's Green Legacy Delegation in Djibouti Youth. Ethiopian Green Legacy Youth Delegation and Djibouti Youth have planted tree seedling in Arta region of Djibouti with the aim of strengthening African brotherhood. During the event, Djibouti Agriculture Minister Ahmed Mohamed Awale said the program would consolidate relations between Ethiopia and Djibouti youth and bolster the good relationship between the two countries.
I would like to grant to say that Ethiopia has offered to Djibouti 60,000 plants of trees. It is symbolic. The strong relationship between Ethiopia and Djibouti. And it is historical. And this event will crystallize the relation existing between Ethiopia and Djibouti. And we are brothers more than 100 years ago, and we continue on this.
Speaking at the event, Ethiopian ambassador to Djibouti, Brahanu Tsaggaye, underscored that the program is aimed at enhancing the long-standing relations of the two countries.
ይሄኛው ችግኝ ተከላ ፕሮግራም የሁለቱን ሀገሮች ግንኙነት
This Green Legacy program's sole purpose is to strengthen African brotherhood between the two nations. This very program, which is spearheaded by Ethiopian government, is also aimed at tackling climate change challenges while sending out seedlings to neighboring countries.
የአየር ለውጥን ችግር ለመቋቋም በኢትዮጵያ የተጀመረውን
According to the youth of both countries, the future of the two countries is bright with a collective endeavor. The youth also vowed to engage in activities geared towards strengthening the two countries' relationship. A youth from Djibouti on her part extended her gratitude for brother nation Ethiopia for taking the initiative.
Today we are just here to plant some tree, we would like to thank our brothers Ethiopian, and they come just today, and they come today to plant some tree here in the Arta Barrage. So we would like to say thank you, and you are always welcome.
It is to be recalled that some 240,000 tree seedlings were provided to Djibouti in the first and second rounds tree planting program held in Djibouti as part of expanding Ethiopia's Green Legacy initiative to neighboring countries. The third round is geared towards bolstering the already strong friendship between the two countries, it was learned.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're still watching Addis News Now, and now we have a recent update about the flag ceremony from Government Communication Office. I will read it as it is. The statement says, "We will raise in our hearts the flag we honored with our blood," Government Communication Service said. Our country, Ethiopia, is a mother of brave children who have fought for its sovereignty and unity through the ages. The Government Communication Service issued a statement on the 15th Flag Day. The 15th Flag Day is being celebrated across Ethiopia today. When we celebrate the day, we are strengthening our country with our blood and sweat. A flag is a national symbol. Heroes sacrificed with this emblem. They won on the world stage. This banner has left an indelible seal in the heart of the world from children to adults. The flag of Ethiopia, our common history of yesterday, it is the seal of our honor and identity that combines our effort today and our hopes for tomorrow, as well as our common national unity. Our country, Ethiopia, is a mother of heroic children who have fought for its sovereignty and unity through the ages. It is a land of thousands of black lions, which has a generation that will raise its flag and bring shame to its enemies who are trying to destroy Ethiopia. Our near and far enemies have gone as far as they can to disintegrate Ethiopia in collaboration with the local gangs of terrorists. However, with blood and strength of her children, their wishes remained a nightmare. If we don't lead it, they want to collapse, intensify conflicts in every area, sponsor fights, and leave no stone unturned to discourage our people. Each of the country's plots failed in turn, and the defense of the country's protectors. They attacked our army at night and started a war against us. But because of the collective struggle of Ethiopian children who sacrificed for the honor of their flag, their plan has not reached its goal. In particular, our National Defense Force and regional security forces defeated the terrorists who waged war against our country. They saved their country from destruction. They honored our flag with their blood. Our enemies who started a war against us taught that we should focus all our attention on the front line and be paralyzed in other areas. Their aim was to weaken and destroy Ethiopia. However, this goal was not achieved due to the strength of her determined children and the support of our people, with the idea that we will protect with our blood and we will be strong with our sweat. Ethiopians are plowing with one hand from one end to the other. They are building their country while shooting with the other hand. On the one hand, they protected themselves from the enemy. On the other hand, they increased their crop production many times. In this process, Ethiopia produces more agricultural products than ever before. It has discouraged its enemies who are trying to discourage our people by bringing national projects such as the Renaissance Dam to a higher stage and completing other. With this, the honor of our country and our flag has been raised. When the people and the government of Ethiopia are intensifying their development activities and fighting the war that has been waged side by side, our famous and young athletes have declared the victory of their country to friends and enemies alike and raised our flag. At this time, when our Ethiopia is faced with many challenges, it has continued its development activities with great success while fighting against its enemies. It is difficult to maintain national sovereignty without food sovereignty. It is difficult to sustainably ensure the dignity of the flag through beggar wheat. The flag that our heroes honored with blood on the battlefield expects everyone to do their part in the fields they are engaged in order to rise the fight for development.
New ideas new perspectives and new viewpoints. We are coming to you with renewed commitments through our new programs, Explore Ethiopia and Diplomatic Insight, because we believe that you deserve to know the truth. For global perspectives on local matters regarding Ethiopia, join us on Addis Dialogue, featuring distinguished guests from Africa and the entire globe on ETV Language, the voice of diversity and renaissance.